Time starts now on the broadcast. You're about to start the round. I was time starts now on the broadcast. Hi, welcome to Talking with Famous People. We are currently live streaming a round of public forum debate. My middle schoolers here. Don't misunderstand. They're middle schoolers, but they're little beasts. So expect to see some high-level argumentation here. On your far left corner, we've got Alice, 8th grader. We've got Edmund in the red shirt there, he's a 6th grader. Lyle is my technically deficient 6th grade friend who can never seem to figure out anything technical, but who's a brilliant debater, that's fine. And then we have Trevor, who's going to be observing because he's not in this round. And we have Zaid, who's in this round, and he will be... That's got to be Lyle, destroying the technicals. Lyle, mute your mic, please. Okay. Anyway, we're going to run this round right now, and the way we're going to do it is we are going to, when the first person is doing their speech, everyone else got to mute their mics, okay? During speech. Alice, yes?
No, it's not a question.
Oh, you're blocking the light. I got you.
Yeah.
Cool. I see. You could lower your chair and tilt the screen more down. I should do that too, like this. Okay. So the point is, let's start the round. Let's enough dilly-dallying. Let's start the round. The resolution for the audience, for your interest, should you choose to want to know, is resolved to alleviate income disparity. The United States should prioritize spending on public infrastructure projects over spending on social welfare programs. And we are going to start the round right now.
Okay. Time starts now. Hi, my name is Zaid, and this is my partner Alice, and we are going to affirm this resolution. So our framework for this round is cost-benefit analysis, with the focus on whoever alleviates income inequality. Observation 1. Spending on means-tested welfare programs are progressive income payout, which means it promotes a progressive income tax. Contention 1. Progressive income taxes violate justice and liberty. Miller 1. A just system of taxation is one that is limited by a principle or rule that applies to everyone. Progressive taxation is not constrained by any such limiting principle. It applies different rules to different people, depending on their degree of wealth, and it has no principled way of deciding who should be taxed and how much. By making actual income relative to one's tax rate, they violate what is the only universally recognized principle of economic justice, that of equal pay for equal work. None of these progressive measures can be defended on grounds of justice. My second contention is Economic Policy Institute 2014A. Increases in infrastructure spending would significantly boost economic activity and employment. A debt-financed $18 billion annual investment in infrastructure yields a $29 billion increase in GDP and a 216,000 net new jobs by the end of the first year, which increased levels then sustained over the next decade. A debt finance package of green investments totaling $92 billion annually boosts GDP by $147 billion and generates 1.1 million net new jobs by the end of the first year, which with the increased levels then sustained over the next decade. A debt finance $250 billion annual investment boosts GDP by $400 billion and overall employment by 300 million net new jobs by the end of the year, with increased levels then sustained over the 7-year life of the investment. Except cuts to the government transfers still leaves a net positive impact. Contention 3. Children and parents are actively harmed rather than helped by welfare. Rector 2001. Current research indicates that both welfare dependence on single parenthood have significant deleterious effects on children's development, impeding their ability to become successful members of society. Dependence also reduces a child's earnings in future years. Being raised on welfare also increases the probability that a child will drop out of school and will be on welfare as an adult. Contention 4. Means-tested welfare programs precludes a living wage. 2015. Seattle's $15 minimum wage is supposed to lift workers out of poverty and move them off public assistance, but there may be a hitch in the plan. Evidence is surfacing that workers are asking their boss for fewer hours as their wages rise, in a bid to keep overall income down so they don't lose public subsidies for things like food, childcare, and rent. If they cut down their hours to stay on those subsidies because the $15 per $15 per hour minimum wage didn't actually help them get out of poverty. All you've done is put a burden on the business and given false hope to a lot of people, said Jason Rance. So the analysis for this card is that people were paid more to do the same amount of work and they worked less. With welfare, the government pays people to not work at all. This will lead to the same negative effect, further proving that welfare programs are a complete waste. Thank you and vote for F.
Okay, so Zaid, can you time me?
Okay.
This is the second constructive speech. Each side gets their case. This is the neg side's case. Or are you guys F?
I'm neg.
Okay, cool. That's good. That's easy. So F went first, neg's going second. This is their case. Go ahead.
Okay, Zaid, so time starts now. Hello, my name is Edmund, and this is my partner Lau, and I stand in firm negation of this resolution. Criterion: cost-benefit analysis with a focus on a better effect to income inequality. Observation 1: reducing poverty alleviates income inequality by increasing employment rates. Conundrum 1: Cash per capita 2014a. Welfare programs shown to reduce poverty in America. More than 45 million Americans are currently living in poverty. Without Social Security, food stamps, unemployment benefits, earned income tax credits, the poverty rate for Americans 65 and older would jump nearly 40%. Social welfare programs work. Safety nets like food stamps prevent millions more people from struggling to put food on the table. Without food stamps, another 8 million Americans would be living in poverty. Without tax credits like the federal earned income tax credit, poverty for children under 18 would be 22.8% instead of the official poverty rate of 19.9%. Conundrum 2, Stoll 2014, tag. 3 warrants on why public infrastructure cannot be spent on. The federal government spends a lot on infrastructure already. The Federal Department of Transportation had outlays of $76 billion in 2013. Federal infrastructure spending is often on wasteful projects. Remember the $223 million Congress appropriated to fund the bridge to nowhere in Alaska? Federal infrastructure spending can be influenced on an appropriations subcommittee rather than by whether a project is a genuinely worthwhile investment. Sure, some infrastructure projects might be worthwhile. In those cases, private investors might decide to invest on their own. Conundrum 3, Snyder 2015, tag. Social welfare programs promote liberty by giving direct wealth. No government will ever grant true liberty. The true answer is wealth. Nothing has liberated more people than wealth. By the very nature of our being, we all have the freedom to travel where we want and when we want, and to do what we want. We simply don't have the wealth, the liberty to do it. And it's not our government holding us back, it's our wealth. Likewise, we're all free to pick the occupation we want. There's no law that says one person must be a teacher and another must be a doctor. If we've got the freedom, then why are most folks toiling at a job they don't love? You know the answer. It's because their wealth has not liberated them. Conundrum 4, page 215. Social welfare programs are a form of reparations, and reparations reduce the number of people who need means-tested welfare programs long term. The aim of reparations is equality and would mean way fewer poor folks, which is to say way fewer recipients of means-tested social benefits. Reparations to be used in a way that builds entrepreneurship and transforms unproductive poverty traps into places that serve America's need for more engineers and scientists. Any sort of community-driven infrastructural reform reflects a persistent tendency to ask those with the fewest capital, institutional, and human resources to draw on those resources to better their lives. But a reparations endowment is not your typical neighborhood development initiative. The partnership is not between community leaders and federal government agencies, but between the former and elected reparations trustees. But even if not a cure, all monetary reparations hold great promise when it comes to the difficult work of achieving equality. A case for not leaving the matter open-ended. Thank you, and please vote for the negative side of this resolution.
Okay, thank you guys. So those are the AF and neg cases. They're delivered by Zaid, 7th grader, and Edmund, a 6th grader. I have a type very clearly in mind for Edmund. I'm not going to say in case you don't know, if you haven't heard me mention it before. I've talked about a lot of these kids before. You may have seen them on some debate videos before too. So next we have up the Crossfire, which is a speech where they do questions and answers between them. And as I didn't mention at the outset like I should have, I'm going to ask you guys, the viewers, to hopefully watch this round and judge it and put your vote in the comments who won. Okay, go ahead.
It's 3
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Okay. Time starts now. So
Okay.
what was your fourth contention?
My fourth contention?
Yeah.
It was about how social welfare programs are a form of reparations, and reparations reduce the number of people who need means-tested welfare programs long-term. And so for your contention 2, is there 2 warrants in it? Boost the economy and employment?
Well, yeah, we talk about overall economic benefits of spending on infrastructure.
But how about the employment part? Is there anything about employment?
What do you mean? Like, our card says that there's new jobs created.
Okay, so you're saying that there's employment benefits?
Yes, new jobs are being created.
Okay, so there's 2 warrants inside that card, right?
Yes.
Okay, also for your contention 4, what was the tag? Well, what was the tag? Can you repeat the tag?
The tag is means-tested welfare precludes a living wage.
Okay, and who is this by?
Springer?
Okay, thanks. So basically, the card talks about like how people are abusing the government social welfare program.
Well, we make a connection between how the minimum wage was raised and people want to work less hours so they can stay on. It talked about public subsidies, which connects to social welfare programs. Can I ask, when you talk about reparations, who are you paying reparations to?
Okay, so we're paying reparations to, we're paying reparations to the poor.
To the poor?
The people in poverty.
Okay, and can you explain how can we evaluate that, like why we need to pay reparations to them?
Well, the government has a duty to keep, it's the government's duty to keep the poverty rate, to keep an amount, to keep poverty low, basically. It's the government's duty to fix that, and that's why it's technically reparations.
Okay. And does your card talk about how you're going to get the money for that?
It's basically that social welfare programs are reparations. So what we're using for social welfare programs right now, that money is for reparations. And if you're not satisfied with that answer, how are you going to get the money for public infrastructure?
Okay.
Okay, so that's the end of the Crossfire. It's 3 minutes. The next speech is a rebuttal speech. Now we find out if Lyle has solved his technical difficulties or not. Lyle, do we have any camera or sound on you? Okay, Edmund, you want to do this Maverick? Trevor, I think these waves might be a little big for you at the moment. I broke a surfboard once surfing in waves that were too big for me. I'm thinking that might be the case with Trevor at the moment with this group of debaters. Edmund, do you want to go Maverick?
Sure.
All right, cool. All right, so unfortunately, Lyle has yet to figure out his technical problems, so he's not able to join us this evening, I guess. Edmund will run the round by himself, being both first and second speaker. So now we've got the AF rebuttal. Alice, you taking prep?
No.
No? You ready? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody ready? Yes. Okay. Time. No.
Wait, so are you timing yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, time starts now. Okay, so judge or judges. So first I like to talk about contention and framing. So for the first contention, they read this card, Casper Kevik, basically says how it's not reducing poverty. Well, I have a card top below, but 2014 C, infrastructure investment raises output in both the short and long term. Increased public infrastructure investment raises output in the short term by boosting demands and in the long term by raising the economy's productive capacity. An example of advanced economies, an increase of 1% point of GDP in investment spending raises the level of output by about 0.4% in the same year and by 1.5% 4 years later after the increase. In addition, the boost to GDP a country gets from increasing public infrastructure investment offsets the rise in debt so that the public debt to GDP ratio does not rise. In other words, public infrastructure investment could pay for itself if done correctly. So as you can see, Judge, public infrastructure in reality actually helps in both the short and long term, whereas social welfare programs, if we're talking about giving people food stamps, or basically what we're doing is giving them free money, which will bankrupt the government, which is absolutely not helping the government in the long term. So for the second convention, they talked about STOL, which is like the reasons basically why infrastructure is bad. I have another card, FP 2014A. Three potential infrastructure packages would yield from $18 billion to $250 billion annually. Scenario 1 cancels all the scheduled cuts stemming from the budget sequester, automatic across-the-board cuts to discretionary spending called for in the Budget Control Act (BCA) of 2011, yielding an average of $30 billion annually over the next decade for infrastructure investments. As of January 2014, a third of the scheduled sequester cuts were canceled for the next 2 years only. Scenario 2 implements a package of green investments that includes a large increase in investment in the energy efficiency of residential and commercial buildings, and upfront investments to construct a national smart grid, yielding $92 billion annually in infrastructure investments over the next decade. Scenario 3 makes an ambitious investment in largely traditional infrastructure projects in transportation and utilities, particularly water treatment, distribution, and sewage systems, to nearly close the United States infrastructure deficit identified by the American Society of Civil Engineers, or ASCE, and yields $250 billion annually in infrastructure investment between now and 2020. So, Judge, all these warrants about how we're spending too much money on infrastructure, we're actually making it all back, so it doesn't even matter. And then for the third contention, they said Snyder, how the social welfare programs are giving people direct wealth, but in reality, how exactly is giving people free money liberty? It's really not. So if it would actually be more liberatic, I don't know if that's a word, if we gave them a job, which infrastructure would do, and let them work for their own money, which would prove to be more liberatic, which would give us the point. And then for the fourth contention, they basically said how reparations are good and how we need to do reparations, but I have a card from 2000 from B. Reparations will disincentivize work. This pervading fact has shaped the growth of the black middle class. Black Americans are 30% more likely than non-blacks to work in the public sector. This strategy brought security to many black families in the years between 1970 and 2008, but the strategy came at a cost. The strategy tethered black economic advancement to the growth of government. Second, the strategy detoured talented people away from the higher risks and reward of the private sector, and especially from entrepreneurship. A reparations plan is likely to prove even more disordering. If paid to individuals as an income stream, reparations would disincentivize work. If paid to individuals as a lump sum, reparations would expose one of America's least financially sophisticated populations to predatory practices that would make subprime lending seem socially responsible by contrast. So now, Judge, I'd like to talk about framework. So we have both offer a framework cost-benefit analysis, and obviously we went under this framework because this card already says we're making $18 billion, $250 billion annually, which is more than social welfare programs. So thank you, judges, and I urge an affirmative ballot.
Okay, I'll take 1 minute of prep. Can someone time me?
Alice, can you time him, please? Okay, 1 minute of prep starts now. For the viewing audience, I will explain that each team has 2 minutes of running prep that they can use. Go ahead and prep, Alice. You don't need to listen to me. And they can use it before any speech. They usually use it before the rebuttal speech. It's also possible to use it before the summary speech or the final focus speech. Pretty much nobody uses it any other place than that. Normally it's not used before crossfire. Crossfire is a time when people answer questions that then they can use to establish things on the flow in the speeches. Typically, the crossfire is not flowed in and of itself. It's not on the flow. When we talk about the flow, we're talking about the record of the round. Points made, the rebuttals made, the impacts established, the warrants turned, stuff like that. And in the end, when you look at it, it's like a mechanical grid of things that are supposed to do this and end up doing that, and et cetera, et cetera. So when you're watching a debate round, you can't really meaningfully judge it unless you flow it, which is to say you write down all the... Okay, guys, go ahead.
Okay, so can you time me, Alice?
Sure.
Okay, so time starts now. Okay, so first I would like to skip framework for now and go on to the contention 1. So their contention 1 was about how progressive income tax is unfair and social welfare programs are a progressive income tax. Well, I would like to read the card, page 115. It says social welfare programs are a form of reparations, and reparations reduce the number of people who need means-tested welfare programs long term. So I would like to cross-apply this contention 4 I have in my case. And the first sentence says the aim of reparations is equality and would mean way fewer poor folks, which is to say way fewer recipients of means-tested social benefits. So this is saying that reparations are actually fair and social welfare programs are reparations. So no, it doesn't violate justice and liberty. On to contention 2. So their contention 2 is about how public infrastructure boosts the economy and employment. So first I would like to read again, cross-apply my second contention, Stolzer on 14. The first sentence is the federal government spends a lot on infrastructure already. The Federal Department of Transportation has outlays of $76 billion in 2013. Federal infrastructure spending is often on wasteful projects, and it provides an example of the bridge to nowhere in Alaska. So no, it does not boost the economy. And for employment, how it boosts employment, that's not true because, well, it's on wasteful projects. And also, I would like to point out that since it boosts employment, that these jobs are not going to be long-term. They're going to be temporary jobs, and there might not be any more jobs in the future that the people in poverty can go to. And also their third contention about Rector, how children are actively harmed and helped because of dependence. Well, I would like to point out that the stats of this. So what would they do without social welfare programs? They can't do anything else. They have to live off of social welfare programs. And 45 million people are relying on it. So if we don't use social welfare programs and 45 million people, what would they do? They're going to starve. And onto the final contention 4 about the people abusing the system. I would like to read Winery 2013 tag. Diseases lead to poverty because of unaffordable medical care. People face challenges due to diseases. For instance, someone who gets sick may have to sell their possessions to pay for medicine. Parents not expecting their children to survive have more children and spend less on education. So basically, this is what happens, Judge. People get sick and then they can't do anything, so they can't work, they can't get a job, so they have to rely on social welfare programs. And they cannot really get a job to earn income. And so that's what the AF is advocating for. These 45 million people dying, starving, because they have diseases, they cannot have a job, they cannot work, and they have nothing else to do. Thank you, and please vote for the negative side of this resolution. How much time was left?
40 seconds.
Okay. You're gonna leave those 40 seconds on the clock? Fine. Okay. Alice, your rebuttal? I mean, I'm sorry. No, yeah, it's you already did your rebuttal, right? So it's cross. Whenever you're
Are you
ready.
timing?
Sure.
Alice, time starts now, Alice.
Okay, time starts now. So
Okay.
in your fourth rebuttal, you said basically you said that how people are medically disabled, but do you realize that this does not fall under means-tested social welfare programs? It falls under Social Security, so this has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
So no, but then the social welfare programs still provide income for them to live.
But we can't argue them because they don't technically fall under means-tested social welfare programs. They fall under Social Security, which is not a type of means-tested welfare program.
Yeah, but they can't work. They can't get a public infrastructure job. So
But
they
we
have
don't
to
need to
rely on.
worry about them because they don't.
So you're saying that people.
We're saying that we don't have to argue anything about, say, anybody disabled or mentally hurt or somebody who can't work because they themselves don't count as either public infrastructure or means-tested welfare programs. They count as Social Security, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So if you were to argue this point, then you'd be arguing non-topically.
Yeah, but social welfare programs still provide them income, and what will they do without the income? They
The
can't do
government
anything.
helps them with Social
With
Security.
income, with social welfare programs as well, by providing them
Social
income.
Security.
I think I mean social welfare programs.
So you're saying that everybody poor needs social welfare programs.
I mean, I won't say all of them, but a lot of them.
Okay, well, do you know there's more than one thing that the government spends money on? And, like, it's not all on social welfare programs, which is why there's different categories, say Social Security or Medicare, all these kinds of different categories, and not all of them are means-tested social welfare programs.
So what's your impact?
My impact is that your contention or your rebuttal doesn't really count as a rebuttal considering it's non-topical.
How is it non-topical? I pointed out that social welfare programs provide the income needed by the people with diseases that cannot work to get their own income with money to buy food so they don't starve.
What I'm saying is that we can't factor in these people in, say, the 45 million. We have to take out all the disabled people because they don't count in means-tested social welfare programs.
Why? But they still get income from means-tested social welfare programs.
Yeah, but most of it is from Social Security, so that doesn't really count.
Can you provide me stats on why?
Yes, I can, because the government sourced these sorts of people into Social Security, not means-tested social. Yes, I do. I have a card. It's right during your own prep time. It's called Spy Rector.
That was fun. That was a fun cross. I like that. Okay, so we're quibbling. That's cool. Next, we got the summary speech, which is the speech in which the team answers the other team's rebuttals. That's your AT-ATs, answer to answer twos. Okay, who's up? Dave, you're up.
I need like 30 seconds of prep.
Okay.
All right, prep starts now. Okay. 2 minutes. Time starts now. Alright, hi, my name is Zaid, and this is my partner Allison, and I'll give a summary for this round. So first of all, for our first contention, they responded by saying that we have to pay reparations to people, and because reparations mean equality, But that doesn't address our contention at all. Our contention talks about the government taking too much money from the top and then giving it down to poor people at the bottom in the form of welfare. But first of all, we've already showed that a lot of these people are lazy and could be working, but they don't. And second, and they haven't actually addressed to the mechanism that the government takes money from these people, and that's unfair. So they were not responsive with their reparations. And onto our second contention, they stated that they had already said that the federal government already spends on infrastructure, but in my second contention, it basically talked about how the more we spend on infrastructure, the more money that we'll get back, and the more the economy will be boosted. So it's actually better to have infrastructure spending. And also, if they talk about one wasteful project, but if you look at the net benefits of all of the other public infrastructure projects, that's much greater than one project gone to waste. And for our third contention, they don't say well, actually, I'm going to skip our third contention first and go to our fourth contention. So they talk about how people have diseases and can't work, but our card rector says that welfare harms people more than helping them. But if they're sick and they're on welfare, it will harm them even more. So thank you, and vote for F.
Edmund, you want prep?
I'll take.
You should get an extra 30 seconds since you're going Maverick.
No, it's okay. I don't need prep.
Okay.
Okay, so can someone time me?
Alice, your timer. You don't have to ask her anymore. Just time everybody.
Okay, so 2 minutes on the clock. Okay, time starts now. So first, I would like to address my contention one. It was they got the card wrong. Our contention one was about how social welfare programs reduce poverty. They got the card wrong and said that it was public infrastructure is not reducing poverty, and they just read a card that says public infrastructure does reduce poverty, and so it's non-responsive. Our card still stands, and I would like to stress the impact. 45 million people are relying on social welfare programs to live. So do we need social welfare programs? Well, of course we do. And does it impact a lot in the round? Well, yes, it does. Now onto our contention two. Well, they only rebutted one part of it, which is about how too much money is spent on public infrastructure, but they missed out the point on how this money spent is useless because it's on wasteful projects, and also they missed out the point on the useful projects are privately invested. Now onto contention three. Our contention three was about how social welfare programs promote liberty. They basically said, well, it doesn't because of their contention one, which is about how progressive income tax is not liberal. So that's non-responsive to our contention. Now to contention four, our final contention, it's about reparations and how it's needed and it's fair. And they used the card they pointed out again, Springer, which is about how people abuse the system. And okay, I would like to point out what I said in rebuttal, which is I would like to cross-apply Winery 2013. It says disease leads to poverty because of unaffordable medical care, and these people with diseases, they can't get their own income because they can't work. So they have to rely on social welfare programs. And let me stress that again. 45 million people are relying on social welfare programs to live. And if we don't have social welfare programs, there's 45 million people that starve.
Okay, the next speech is going to be a grand cross, and that means all four people speak at the same time, but there's only three this time, so it's a mini grand cross.
Wait, is it 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
3.
Okay. Should I start the timer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alright. Time starts now. Okay, so are all the 45 million people on food stamps, do they all have diseases?
Well, okay, so the 45 million people, I would like to point out, no, they don't all have these diseases.
And how many do?
I don't know.
Well,
Okay, so if there is one person that had a disease and couldn't work, and you have a card about that, could that have an impact on this round?
Okay, so actually, in the card it does state that 23 million people. Yeah, they do. 23 million people.
so wait. So if 23 million people have diseases, right? And are you agreeing this is a disability?
Can you repeat your question?
Are all 23 million people who have diseases, are they considered disabled? Or do you consider them disabled?
Yes.
So then wouldn't that mean that all those people are gone? Because, again, disabled people count under Social Security as evidenced by a card.
Okay. But they're still getting income from social welfare programs, so they're not entirely Social Security. And can you point out the stats on how much the government
Yes,
says
I'll read you a card. Are you ready?
I don't think we should read this in Crossfire.
Then do you want to, you can't exactly see the card, then you better believe me. Can't really see the card during your own prep time, considering we're online.
Well, then maybe you should have read it in rebuttal or summary.
Well, you didn't. You know what? Never mind. Okay. Next question.
Okay, so can I ask about framework? So do you guys agree that we have the same framework? Enough of the same framework? Okay, thank you.
But we win under our framework and your framework.
Okay.
So you agree we win, right?
No, I don't agree that you win. I agree that I win, but not that you win.
We win.
Okay, Zay, do you have any questions?
What was never mind.
Wait, so in your summaries, basically all you said we were non-responsive, right?
No, I said other stuff as well. Like the first contention, you got my contention wrong.
No,
You said that.
I read a card. I read a card that says it raises output both the short and long term, and then I said welfare doesn't raise it long term because it's income the government because of the stats you gave and how many people are on welfare. Okay.
This last speech is called Final Focus, and you are going to hear these guys crystallize the round, say what they think the most important issues are, called the voters, and tell you guys who are viewing this why you should vote for their side instead of the other side. Here we go. Anybody taking prep?
Yeah, I'm going to take a minute of prep.
Okay, go ahead and start prep now. So as I mentioned before, each team has 2 minutes of rolling prep, which they can use whenever they want. It benefits the second speaker a great deal, obviously, because they can prep during the first team's prep time as well. So it's a bit of an unfair prep division. I've long advocated that there should be shared prep before the rebuttal or before the summary speech instead. But, you know, things get locked in stone as traditions, and then you just do them that way. So anyway, as you hear, this round is working on a number of different argumentation vectors, which I could discuss later potentially. And I also wanted to talk about their personality types. I have clear types in my mind for 2 of these people. The third one, I have a theory. Maybe after the round we can chat with them a bit about some personality type questions and let the audience get a chance to type them. See if you agree with me. I won't say what I think they are.
Wait, I still have 30 seconds to prep too, so I'm going to take that.
Take it. No rush, dude. You got your 2 minutes. Use it all. You shouldn't be leaving prep on the clock. Might as well use it. Can't take it with you.
Hey, Alice, talk about the our economic impact versus theirs.
Per framework?
No, just like as one of like our round voters, just say that we have a lot more economic impacts.
Okay.
That's called weighing impacts, what he's telling her to do to make sure that the judge is focused on the right kind of thing.
Okay, 2 minutes prep time up. Everybody ready? Yes. Great. Okay, time starts now. So, Judge, let's first go over the points of this debate. So, for framework, they've completely disregarded framework in their both rebuttal and summary, and we've already shown why we went under framework. We're at the card EPI, that's showing us how much. We're making $18 billion to $250 billion annually with infrastructure, which means with the framework of cost benefit analysis, we're making way more money, as well as the fact that we're getting all the economic benefits and impacts because of the fact that we're making so much money. And then, so now let's go on to their side of the flow. So basically, all they said in response to most of our contentions, that's non-responsive. But they have completely mistaken most of my rebuttals, saying such as in the first contention, we said that we said public infrastructure is bad. We actually didn't. We read a card that says it's good in both the short and long term. It's bankrupting the government. So as you can see, judges, my opponent has completely been off the flow. So you can't trust any of his summaries because of the fact he's off the flow, and they're all non-responsive. So now let's go on to my side of the flow. So again, they're pretty non-topical here because, again, they're reading the wrong, okay, let's say for first contention, they says violating justice and liberty. They read a card on reparations. How does reparations have anything to do with the progressive income tax? Nobody knows. They didn't provide a link at all. So, judges, they're completely off the flow on both sides of the flow, which means we get all the impacts on everything in this entire round, as well as the fact that with framework they've completely ignored it, and we've already shown why we went under both, or technically the same framework, under the big frameworks. So thank you, Judge, and I urge a strong affirmative ballot.
1 minute prep on the clock.
Okay. So that's Alice's final focus speech, and she made a significant point of the fact that reparations are not normally considered social welfare programs, and that in questioning more than one of the links in this. Is that vile? Did he finally figure it out? Well, if you guys are down, I'm down to run another round.
Yeah, I think.
We can switch sides. We can switch sides and run the other round. We can see you now, Alex. We see a black silhouette of you. We don't actually see you at all, but there you are. A human being. Look at that.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, gosh dang it. Oh, wow.
Your time's up.
All right, let's go. Final focus.
Okay, so 2 minutes. Time. Okay, so time starts now. Okay, so first I would like to address my contention 1. And I would like to point out the voters of this round. So my contention 1, they didn't respond to it correctly because they thought it was something else. But it's how social welfare programs reduce poverty. And 45 million people are relying on social welfare programs. Now these impacts are huge. And this is how social welfare programs alleviate income inequality by reducing poverty. And they haven't provided any such argument that says public infrastructure reduces poverty, which alleviates income inequality. So we win automatically because we're the most topical, since the since the resolution says to alleviate income inequality, something should be prioritized over something else. So we win on topicality, and also we win on impacts as well. Now on to contention 2. So they didn't respond to the whole thing. They only responded to one argument in it, and it has 3. And they missed the core one. And the core one is how public infrastructure is spent too much on, and the spending is on wasteful projects, and the good projects are privately invested. So this completely destroyed public infrastructure, any impact, any of their economic impact that they provided. It completely destroys it, and also it destroys any of their little employment impacts as well. So public infrastructure is down completely. We have 45 million people positively impacted by social welfare programs. We should definitely win the round, Judge. And now onto framework. So they say that we agreed in Grand Cross that we have the same framework, and that's it. Well, yeah, our frameworks are similar enough, so we can agree on both our frameworks. Thank you, and please vote for the negative side of this resolution.
Okay. That was great, you guys. I strongly urge all viewers of this, whether you view it live or whether you view it on the file that's about to be put up there, to please put in the comments who you think won AF, which is Alice and Zaid, or Neg, which was Edmund. We're going to have them switch sides now. Edmund's going to be with his partner Lyle, and we will run another round.